Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, or if you are new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Holly, sex and relationship therapist, and today we're diving into one of the most viral and misunderstood sex trends on the internet. Yes, that is No Nut November. You've probably seen it online, men swearing off of masturbation for the entire month, claiming that it'll boost testosterone, sharpen your focus, and even amplify their masculine energy. But here's the thing. There is absolutely zero scientific evidence to back this up. Yep, you heard that right. There is zero evidence that supports No Nut November. The movement that promises better self control and confidence might actually be doing the opposite. That's why in this video, I'm breaking down what the research really says about abstinence, masturbation, and sexual well being. We'll talk about where this challenge came from, what actually happens when you stop masturbating, and why some of the messaging around No Nut November or NoFap can actually make your sex life worse. And make sure you stick around until the end because I'll share what the science does say about how to improve your focus, confidence, and desire without the shame of the challenge. So let's start with the basics. No Nut November began as a joke, a meme on Reddit and Twitter around 2011, but like a lot of things on the internet, that joke grew teeth. Before long, it became part of the NoFap movement, where online communities encourage people to abstain from masturbation and porn completely, sometimes for a month and sometimes for life. The message that ejaculation somehow drains your vital energy and that abstaining makes you more productive and that pleasure, especially solo pleasure, is a weakness. Sound familiar? It's not new. In fact, this same idea goes back for centuries, from Victorian doctors warning men about self-abuse to moral campaigns about purity to modern influencers promising that real men retain. It's the same shame, just with a new hashtag. And that's why this study is such a big deal. For the first time ever, researchers actually examined what happens when people participate in No Nut November. The study, published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine in 2025 by Garris, Levang, and Picol, was the first scientific look at this trend. They surveyed over 400 participants before and after No Nut November, some who participated and some who didn't. They measured things like sexual pleasure, desire, dysfunction, and flexibility. And here's what they found. There was no significant difference in sexual well-being between those who abstained and those who didn't. No boost in focus, no spike in testosterone, no better sexual function. The only difference? People who took part scored slightly higher on sexual flexibility, meaning that they might just be more open to trying new sexual experiences or trends. That's it. So, in plain English, not masturbating for a month doesn't make you more powerful or grounded or more alpha. It just doesn't do much. But if there's no evidence it helps, why does the idea of abstinence have such a grip on people? Well, it comes down to shame. As a therapist, I see how shame shows up in people's sexual lives all the time. Many of us were raised to believe that masturbation is dirty, selfish, or immature, and for some people, especially men, those messages get tangled up with identity. Like your worth or strength depends on how much control you have over your body. So, when an online challenge says real strength means abstaining, it could sound like self improvement when really it's just repackaged shame. Now, I want to be fair. Some people do join NoFap or No Nut November for reasons that come from a good place. Maybe they feel out of control with porn, or they're trying to break a habit that's numbing them out, and that is completely valid. But here's where it gets tricky. Research by Praz and Binney found that men deeply involved in NoFap communities actually reported higher levels of depression, anxiety, and erectile dysfunction. In other words, the more they engaged with those spaces, the more that their mental health and sexual health became worsened. Why? Because when you turn something natural like sexual desire into a moral test, you create constant anxiety around it. It becomes a battle that you just can't win, and that's not sexual discipline, that's sexual distress. Now let's talk about what's actually true about masturbation. Decades of research show that it's not just harmless, but it is healthy. For one, it helps to reduce stress and give you better sleep. Masturbation releases endorphins and oxytocin, that same feel good hormone and chemicals that lower your stress and help you to relax. For two, it can improve sexual function. In both men and women, regular self pleasure supports blood flow, lubrication, and erectile functioning. For three, it can help with your body image, especially for women. Masturbation is linked with higher sexual self confidence and self esteem. For lower prostate cancer risk. Men who ejaculate more frequently actually have a reduced risk of prostate cancer. So, when the internet tells you that abstaining is cleansing, but the data tells us that masturbation literally improves mental and physical health, who are you going to believe? Now, let's address one of the most common claims. No Nut November boosts testosterone. Sounds convincing, right? But science doesn't back that either. Testosterone naturally fluctuates throughout the day, and it can be affected by things like sleep, exercise, and stress. Studies show that abstaining for a few days might cause tiny, temporary spikes in testosterone, but it quickly returns to baseline. And that bump isn't enough to change anything about your energy, your muscle mass, or your libido. So, if you feel more energized during No Nut November, it's likely psychological because you're focused, intentional, or just trying something new. It's not hormonal magic. And let's be real for a second. When people post about how great they feel during No Nut November, what they're often feeling is control. There's something deeply human about wanting to feel in control of your body, especially in a world that is constantly telling us how to look, perform, and feel. But control doesn't automatically mean connection. You can be in control of your body and still be completely disconnected from your pleasure, your emotions, or your partner. What if instead of controlling your sexuality, you learned to better understand it? Let me tell you about a client. I once worked with a man who came to therapy after years of cycling between strict abstinence and binge watching porn. Every time he failed, he felt disgusted with himself. He told me, I just want to feel normal. And throughout our work together, we discovered that this cycle wasn't about sex, it was about shame and stress. When life got hard, he turned to porn to numb out. Then the guilt kicked in, and he tried to regain control by abstaining completely. Once he learned to approach self pleasure with curiosity instead of judgment, checking in with what he actually felt and needed, he started to rebuild trust and connection with his own body. The goal stopped from being don't touch and became how can I feel connected? And that's what healing really looks like. Now, you might be wondering, okay, so if No Nut November doesn't help, what does? Here are three evidence based ways to rebuild focus and confidence and sexual well being without suppressing your sexuality. Number one, practice mindful masturbation. This means slowing down, noticing your breath, and paying attention to sensation instead of rushing to orgasm. You can even set an intention before you start, like relaxation, curiosity, or connection. This shifts masturbation from a reflex into a connected, body based ritual. Number two, get curious about your motivations. Ask yourself, why am I choosing abstinence? If it's to feel more in control, that's fine. But if it's because you feel dirty or broken, that's a sign to dig a bit deeper. Therapy can help to unpack where those beliefs came from. So that's always an option if you notice those feelings of shame or that anxiety cycle of abstinence and binging showing up in your life. And number three, focus on flexibility, not restriction. One study actually found that No Nut November participants were slightly more sexually flexible. So use that to your advantage. Try new forms of connection or learn what actually turns you on. Flexibility rather than avoidance is what makes a sex life really, truly enjoyable and connective. And if you're someone who's ever felt guilty about self pleasure or you've tried to quit because you thought that it would make you a better person, please know this: your body isn't the enemy. You don't need to earn the right to pleasure, and masturbation isn't a moral test. It's a natural expression of being human. And when we remove the shame, we can actually make room for real self control, the kind that is rooted in awareness as opposed to fear. So here's the big question: what if we stopped treating sexual desire like a problem to solve and started treating it like a relationship to nurture? Because that's what it really is: a relationship with your own body and your own pleasure, as well as your own boundaries. You can abstain if it feels right for you. You can explore if that feels right for you. Both are okay. What really matters is the intention behind it. The problem with No Nut November isn't that people abstain, it's the movement tells you that abstinence is the only path to worthiness, when science and experience say otherwise. Now, if you've been a part of the NoFap or No Nut November community, I'd actually really love to hear from you. What made you join? Was it helpful or did it make you feel anxious? Please drop your experiences in the comments. I'm genuinely curious on how it impacted you. Okay, so here's my final takeaway. Sexual health isn't about control, it's about connection. It's about understanding your patterns, your needs, and your body without shame. And if you want to improve your focus, confidence, and relationships, don't skip pleasure, learn from it. Because when you know your body, you don't need to do some 30-day challenge to feel powerful. You already are. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more science-based and shame-free conversations about sex, relationships, and mental health. And as always, stay curious, stay connected, and remember, you deserve a healthy, happy, and pleasurable life.